Good afternoon, everybody. So yeah, I'm the global head of content for Unity distribution portal. Not for Unity as a whole, I wish. Today, yeah, we're going to be discussing, today's game distribution challenges, opportunities, and also the trends that we're seeing in game distribution. So today with us here we have Tom, Senior Director of Overseas Business from Bytedance. We have Donald, the CEO from APPTUTTi. And we have Neo, the global head of publishing from XiaoMi. So maybe we'll start off with a very short self-intro, so you have some background on each of the panelists. Neo, do you want to start?
All right. So we're from XiaoMi. XiaoMi is a smartphone manufacturer. We started business from China 2010, and currently we are like top 5 shipment in 47 countries. And currently we have around 200 million monthly active users. Based on those active users, we do game distribution and game publishing. Before joining XiaoMi, I'm the general manager of GameLoft China office and the former general manager of the Greater China office of Glue Mobile, which is based in San Francisco. And I have been into the game business like for 7 years. Thank you.
Yeah, Donald, please.
Thank you, Max. I'm Donald of APPTUTTi. APPTUTTi is actually a 24/7 online platform to help the foreign developers to send their game into China. We are supporting them for multi-publishing. I remember a few years back when I was still an IT guy. Yeah, I am supporting a project for China Mobile. They are asking me for some connecting them with some foreign games, which is something that they couldn't do it on their own before. Then I helped them to connect some from America, Europe, Southeast Asia. A few months later, there's nothing progress. So I observed the whole process that there's a big gap in the communication. Then I am thinking that it could be all resolved by online portal. So I set up a system-based, process-based company to help out to bridge the gap. So now we're having 1,400 developers from 90 different countries. We're helping them almost like 1,000 games in China already. We believe every developer should deserve the right, the chance, the equal chance to publish in the largest market in China. Thank you.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name's Tom. I'm a Dutch guy that's lived in China for the past 10 years. I now work at Bytedance, which is the company perhaps most known in the West for doing TikTok, our fast-growing short-form video app. At Bytedance, I had the business development team for the Western market for the games division. That's fairly recent. Previously, I spent 6 years at NetEase. Some of you might know me from that. But new company, new opportunities, and I think very relevant to the panel here today.
Do a quick self-introduction as well. I'm also a fellow Dutchman. Used to live in China. Right now, I'm based out of our Singapore office. So at Unity, we're constantly looking at how we can further help our developers and the challenges that they're facing, and one of them was distribution. So this year at GDC, we launched in beta the Unity distribution portal, which is a single hub solution, which allows you to create a single build and distribute your game across multiple alternative app stores. And we handle the SDK integrations for you automatically as well. So that's my background. So I'm also very interested and focused on distribution. And so it's quite interesting today. Like, okay, we have people here with global roles, but we all have China background or are based out of China right now. And I think what China is very well known for is a fairly fragmented Android distribution ecosystem. So maybe we can start off with some general insights as to how Android distribution works in China, and also maybe you can even like draw some key differences as to how it works in the rest of the world versus China. So.
Yeah, I mean, we can quickly brief people, if you're not familiar with the Chinese distribution landscape on Android. There's no Google Play, available. So you have to go with indeed alternative distribution of your app. The phones are all unlocked in China, so that means that whether users directly download an APK to their device or use an alternative app store in between, it's all possible. As a result of Google Play not being part of the market, a large variety of app stores has popped up in the landscape. The handset manufacturers, such as XiaoMi and Huawei and Oppo and Vivo, take a big part of this landscape. Then you have the big tech companies in China who also have their own app stores through which they distribute APKs. And of course, for companies with their own traffic, their own users, they can simply direct users to a page or give them a download link, and the phone can automatically install the game. So that's generally the distribution landscape in China. It should be added that something else in China, the government approval for your game is relevant for these app stores, these companies that can help you distribute, because as they're virtually all Chinese companies, they have to comply with Chinese law, and as such, they must have the documentation from the government that says that this game is allowed. If you're on iOS, however, as a foreign developer, you can self-publish if you so wish.
It's more on the regulation side. I think the China market is huge, which is something about 30-something, almost 40 billion out of 130-something billion over the world. So it's more than 1/3 to a certain level. So it's a huge market. There might be some barriers like the license stuff or the legal stuff. But also there's an opportunity. This huge market there is more than 1,000 different stores before. Having the peak time, it would be 2014. There would be more than 1,000 stores. But now it's consolidated into 200-something. And I think the 20-something top would be covering the 90% already. So it's also some way that you can think about how to get into this market. I think most of the game developers, they would be already on iOS, Google Play. But this China market, they may be finding solution to get in. It's also, regardless of the barriers, I think we have to have a way to help the developers to get into this.
Okay, I think Tom and Donald has covered nearly everything. So yeah, I'd like to just add one thing about localization. So the localization here doesn't mean the language localization only. Sometimes means the publisher will also request the developer to change your game, ecosystem, even the economy system, and like to improve your tutorial to suit the user behavior and preference in China market. But I want to say this is not something that you have to do as a developer, because they may give you some example like Plants vs Zombies 2. They made a huge change for China market. They are a huge success thanks to that. And also they may also bring you some cases like Temple Run or like Subway Surfers. They change a lot for China market and they have huge success. Those are truths. But something I'd like to share is as a game, well, I like to mention the Supercell cases. They didn't change their games for the China market, but still they are successful. So when a publisher comes to you and asks you to change your game in order to suit the China market, well, you can think twice. It's not something that you have to do. That's not something, I think the users, they have something in common. So if your game can survive in the rest of the world, your game can survive in China. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so, you mentioned, okay, so I think it's still fairly hard to say how many app stores there exactly are in China, but you, like Donald mentioned, right, there's roughly, roughly 20 top stores will give you 90% of the access to the market. A lot of, especially foreign developers, they're just used to, publish on Apple and on Google Play. On a live ops perspective, how would that even work? Like, managing 20 different builds for 20 different app stores? Like, how does that work? Like, what are some of the ways that you structure your team and that you do your updating process? Like, when you're dealing with so many app stores, or dealing with so many app store relationships?
It's true. Yeah, managing that many SDK would be challenging, and apart from the legal stuff, there is some local company or some company consolidate the major SDK from the different store into one single one. That would be very helpful to save the time. But you still have someone to help you to get along with the store one by one every day. That would be very local communication. That is something that you need to have a party in China to help.
Okay, so basically you're saying, okay, so SDK-wise and build management-wise, you're just going to have to increase the amount of engineering resources, and App Store management-wise, you're going to have very hands-on communication with all the stores, so you're going to have to spend more manpower on that as well, actually. So it's just...
Yeah, I can, sorry. I can add a very a simple case from me. When I worked for Gameloft in 2017, we have a local publishing team as a Western publisher to survive in China. Back to that time, we need to cover around the top 30 Android app stores with 3 headcounts, the BD team. And we need to manage the 20 or 30 booths with like 20 people development team in Chengdu. But I think now the situation may be simple, as Donna mentioned, only need to cover the top 20 local Android stores, and you have 90% of the traffic. And thanks to some like the UDP, currently we just need one single SDK, and you can cover the top 10 market. So that will significantly reduce your workload, and that is really helpful for the Western developer. And also you can, another alternative way that you can work with a local publisher, let them to handle the relationship with the local Android stores, and your development team can focus on the SDK, and with very limited resources.
Yeah, I think we need to poll if this is like a China panel or a global panel.
No, that's what I was about to say. I was about to get on that as well. So if we're looking at distribution, let's stick with Android for a bit right now. Like where today, Google Play, yes, has a significant market share outside of China, right? There's a lot of other app stores, OEMs like Xiaomi, Samsung, Huawei have their own app stores. You have alternative stores like UpToDown, AppToid, One Store, etc. But I think the majority of developers today still distribute just on Apple and Google. Do you think there's a massive opportunity outside of the Google Play ecosystem as well, outside of China?
In the past, I think most of the developers will be focusing on iOS and Google Play. That might be the only role for them. But now, I think on top of China market, I think there's still something more we should consider. For example, like the smartphone shipping out to the third world countries like Africa, South America, South Asia, Eastern Europe. The amount, from my rough estimate, the smartphone by the Chinese smartphone maker, they're shipping out around 20% of the world total of the shipment. So this 20% of Android market is something that is still new and fresh. So that would be another alternative market for we to consider.
Tom?
Yeah, I think like, if we're talking about the world, I mean, we're seeing it in multiple forms, right? I mean, app stores are one part of the equation, but if we look, for example, at Epic Games and how they distributed Fortnite, there's no app store, right? They directly said, okay, we cut out this app store as a middleman almost. Let's go directly to the player. And so this ties in with another aspect of the discussion, I think, which is what does an app store do for you, right? It provides a sort of unified approach to perhaps payments and some other user-facing services that can help you. Discoverability is a big part of it. But if that's not necessarily something you need as a company, or whether you have an alternative partner who can help you with these aspects, I think there are many more alternative ways to distribute. Of course, the direct download is one, and we're seeing that done around the world. I think streaming is something that will become more and more popular. We're seeing that in the PC console world with, for example, Stadia coming to market. You have HTML5, which is essentially an instant experience, and that used to be very casual, very small experience, but right now we're already seeing entire MMOs being done in HTML5 and just one click and you're in there as well. So I think in terms of alternative distribution methods, there are a lot of things we can talk about. App stores are a part of it. Streaming solutions are a part of it. HTML5 is a part of it.
So the first one I think is very interesting. Is what you mentioned is the role app stores have for you today, and or cutting out the app store and publishing directly yourself or distributing to the player directly yourself by direct distribution. Do you think that's for every publisher, or do you think that depending on the scale of the publisher, you might still need to work with the app stores?
I mean, absolutely. It's a cost-benefit analysis. It's a matter of, do you have the resources in-house to do things like discoverability and user outreach, or whether your company already has a lot of players that you could just switch or try to transfer to your next game. There's absolute value in in an app store providing these things for you. It's an easier way to reach scale for a lot of developers, but it's not the only way. Perhaps some more thoughts from.
Yeah, I think one thing we can observe very clearly that now even Apple, Google, they're expanding different ways of game to build up, to enlarge the marketplace. That is the cloud gaming from Google. Apple got an arcade. I think the market is going up still a lot. So is it the past situation just iOS or Google Play Store? That would be questionable. That would be creating a lot more. I saw there's one a store from Korea. There's a store from Europe. Should I say the name? Or just, or some of them from Middle East, Southeast Asia. So there are many other choices for coverage. Of course, China is one of them, yeah. So, yeah, there should be many other alternative choices.
Sometimes the line between a publisher and a store kind of overlaps, right? I mean, we said earlier, like, you need a company that helps you integrate all these SDKs. Well, if you work with a large publisher, they will also have that solution, right? So who handles that integration is a matter of, the partner that you work with. And if you have, the capability to integrate all those individual SDKs, you can become your own publisher. There's no blockage to that. But there is a cost benefit to that, and I don't think that's a positive one for every developer.
Yeah, so a bit more concretely, right? Okay, so there's a lot of different types of distribution, right? Okay, there's also new platforms coming out, like you have cloud gaming coming out right now. But a bit more to the point today, if you're a developer or a publisher, right, how do you decide what model of distribution works for you? And like, how do you make your decisions? How do you formulate your strategy? When you try to make this, you try to weigh your options,
So I think the topic today is alternative game distribution, about challenges and opportunities. So I'm talking about some opportunities. So taking India market, for example. So in India, they have 1.3 billion people, population, second largest country, and soon will bypass China, I think in 1 or 2 year time. Currently everybody think India as an emerging market, and especially on the gaming business, because they have a large population base. But the thing is that according to data that I have, for like major game distribution portals like App Store and Google Play, they use credit card as the major billing method. And in India market, every 50 people have one credit card. This is number that I have in 2017. And during the same time period in China, every 3 people have one credit card. And in the data that I have in 2016, every US citizen have holding 2.9 9 credit cards. So this has huge differences. What I mean is the billing efficiency in Indian market is still not there, even they have huge population. So which means the major billing methods in the major distribution portal like Google Play or App Store will not work or is not working in a short time being. So you definitely need some local billing that is not supported by App Store or Google Play. So that is the other distribution portals like Xiaomi or other distribution portals in India. They are providing alternative billing solutions to improve the billing efficiency. That's the one opportunity that I see. The second one is that for those markets, definitely some local staff to give you some local advice. You cannot use the one standard to serve all the users in the local market. So those are the two opportunities that I see for the alternative game distribution. And of course, for the challenge, is very obvious. So for Google Play, you just need to submit one build and you can reach all the users in the world, except China, right? And but in other alternative distribution portals, you may need to submit like multiple builds. That will increase your workload. That will be the very obvious challenges.
Yeah, and there's a reason why if Google Play is available, there's still alternative methods, right? They offer expertise. You know, for example, if we're talking about the Middle East, those are very different types of players. You know, the app stores that operate there, you know, they offer you great insight into the local players and say, this is what you need to do beyond integrating my SDK to be successful in this region. Or it can be a matter of payment options, which, you know, Google might not have in the region. There are all kinds of reasons why an alternative app store or intermediary might be successful in the region. I mean, there's a reason for that, because if they didn't have a unique advantage, there's probably less reason for them to exist in the first place.
Yeah, so I think a big point that comes up, right, is that especially in markets that are known for having very specific player traits, as well as markets where payments like credit card penetration is not very high, is where the alternative distribution opportunity really lies. Is that?
Well, you know, Google is a global operation, and they have to be careful how they operate. It has to be uniform. They have to make sure that, you know, whatever they do is suitable for most parts of the world, so that exactly you can just integrate their SDK and you're good to go. But for a lot of markets, other things might be required that you might not want to do on a global scale, but where a local distribution solution can go the extra mile and actually give you a lot more value for the effort you're putting in.
All in agreement there, it seems. Yeah. So we touched on this a bit earlier. So cloud gaming, right? Streaming services are popping up, right? Google Stadia made a massive announcement that really got the world talking about it. But since then, there's been a lot of other companies, you know, that either have plans and haven't announced yet, or that have announced and are launching similar services. Where do you guys do you think that over the next year or 2 years this is really going to take off and really going to change the entire way we handle our game distribution? Or do you think it's going to take a while? Where do you see that going? Maybe also in China is that taking off as much?
Max, I think you mean Android. Apart from Android distribution, is there any other?
It can also,
right?
No. I think cloud gaming right now today, right? This can be for PC, for Android. You have an in-between stage of the instant HTML5 games as well, of course.
Yep. With the 5G technologies getting more advanced and advanced, I think per my understanding, the few telco carriers in China, they are working on the cloud gaming already. Some of them have been launched. One from China Mobile is been launched already. That is something that the user, they don't need to install the whole game. They can play on the cloud-based situation. That might be another trend that we need to consider for planning as well. But now, they are still doing a lot on settling the technical difficulties. So it's still in the infant stage for the moment.
Yeah, I think streaming is absolutely going to go places. I don't think it will be there overnight. I mean, if you're talking PC, console level streaming, you need an internet connection that the majority of the world doesn't have access to. In certain territories, it's definitely going to be a big thing. 5G connections in China are absolutely ahead of most other places. So China will focus probably on mobile. Maybe the West will focus on PC and console first over fixed connections. But eventually, all that streaming is or does, and what HTML5 has also been trying to do, is reduce the friction between a user being exposed for the first time to the game in any way, shape, or form, just knowing the name or seeing some video shared by his friend or seeing an advertisement for it, from that moment all the way to when can I start to play this game. And right now you have to go to an app store, you have to download an app, you have to wait for it to install, you have to log in, there's probably another download package that is more and more commonplace. It takes a long time and you're obviously going to hurt your conversion rate there. If you're moving to HTML5, you're already solving part of that problem. Obviously, that technology isn't fully there yet either. We don't have the same level or quality experience on HTML5 as we have with native apps, but it's moving very fast. I think it's much further ahead than what most people still have in their mind. Oh, it's a simple Facebook instant game that I play for a few minutes. You can have complete MMOs in HTML5 already.
With in-app purchase abilities as well, right?
Yes, that is. It's a matter of integrating the right payment solutions, and of course, in China, this is a matter of approvals, but that's another discussion. And so, if you have that frictionless experience where I'm looking at, a video and I just press a button and I can get into game, that is what you want as a developer. So HTML5 is a first step to that, and full streaming is the step behind that, from my perspective.
You wanted to?
Yeah. What I like to share is that it's a pity that in China there is no console market for the console games. Those AAA games will never get a chance to enter China market, and because there is no console really approval for sales in China market. But thanks to the cloud gaming, currently I think I know lots of Chinese publishers are seeking for the AAA games on the consoles, and I want to bring them to the cloud gaming. So I think it's also a very good opportunity for those game developers. Now you can open the gate and start the communication negotiation with the Chinese publishers to bring your games to China market thanks to the cloud gaming. And of course, as Tom just mentioned, the 5G is kind of at a very fast developing stage in China. So I think it's given like 3 or 5 years time. I think the market will be there.
Okay. So basically you're saying HTML5 games are an opportunity today when it comes to cloud gaming, but for Android PC platforms, it's going to take a few more years, and especially the internet speeds seem to be really where the crutch is, the 5G adaptation and the internet speeds.
Yeah, the internet speeds are the major bottleneck. With HTML5, you have the technology to sort of, break it up and run it locally. But eventually, the device on which you're consuming content will matter less. And, the fact that you can bring the highest quality experiences over to a small screen will be the most appealing for users. And it will also mean that mobile developers will have a lot more competition coming from PC and console, because that shooter that was out of reach before because it could only run on the Xbox One X can now also run on your mobile phone from 5 years ago.
Yeah. So in terms of because you're publishing, you guys are you're currently focused on publishing as well.
Yes. Thanks for bringing this up. So currently Xiaomi, well, I'll talk too much about Xiaomi and China, okay? So in the Q&A time, ask anything that you think is interesting. So currently, as we mentioned, Xiaomi, currently we have around 200 million monthly activated users. Oh, okay, this direction is better. And based on that, we do game distribution, as we mentioned. But also, like currently, we consider ourselves as challenges to the game publishing market. We like to change our roles, swift our roles to be a game publisher in the worldwide. So currently, for this trip, we are looking for meeting with the developers. I have arranged like 20 meetings in 3 days. And I like to meet all the developers and to seek for the best game and to publish them and bring them to China market, to Southeast Asian market. And also we like to expand the North American market as well. So if you have good games, talk to me. And you can also book my time on Pine, which is a very efficient system.
All right. So, do you guys want to cover any other topics, or maybe we just go into a Q&A?
I think we can do some Q&A. You know, generally speaking, if we're looking at the topic of the panel, alternative game distribution, people will have to see, you know, what their goals are for distributing their game, whether they need scale, whether they need expertise, whether their game is suitable for, say, HTML5 or streaming in the future. I don't think there's a one-stop shop solution to this kind of issue. There are lots of opportunities, I think, from members on the panel here as well, to ease this workload, to ease, you know, hitting as many of the opportunities that are out there in the market. But it will always remain a question of what do you as a developer need from the market and in which territories.
Yeah. And for alternative distribution, I think what it came down to is like, yes, covering more platforms means being able to dive deeper into markets, but also it's inevitably going to mean that you're going to have to scale the resources you apply for managing, you know, the platform partnerships as well as handling the technical side of things, right?
Yeah, I mean, covering many app stores is a way to achieve scale. And similarly, if you use Facebook for your user acquisition, you can cover a lot of different platforms and reach a lot of users. So it's a matter of, do you go with someone or a solution that covers as many app stores, or do you go with a solution that gives you direct access to users no matter where they would get the game? Those are different levels of distribution, right? If you can drive the user yourself to a certain target, you can decide which store to drive into, the store with the best revenue share, the store with the best support solution, or even just no store at all. And if you actually need users, or you know need someone to drive those for you, then indeed working with the stores, either through an aggregated solution or direct. Because if you make a deal with a single app store or a single distribution solution, they might be able to give you preferential terms because they also have competition in their market. They need to compete with the other app stores. So you might be able to get something out of that discussion that benefits you.
Yeah, I think the world is changing a lot. Yeah, in the past, the two major stores is something that we couldn't just consider and plan only. We should think widely in terms of the territory, in terms of the different form of store covering different countries. I believe that there's another dimension that we need to consider. Like in the past, most of the majority would be the gamers would be more on the boys' man side. Right now, female gamers are a lot more than before. Then your games development or distribution, you should think about that way as well. Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of of course, there's new opportunity. There will be new challenges. I believe the developer, most of them are entrepreneurs or they are startup or something. They should have the way to think how to get through the challenge. For this kind of getting more market coverage is something that depends on the drive of the company instead of. I think the opportunity is very obvious over the world. You can check on the internet. You can find out find out all of them. The point is how you execute them, push forward on them. Yeah.
I'm all good. And thank you for staying with us.
All right. So as a little incentive to get people to ask questions and go ahead and ask them the difficult questions, APPTUTTi is giving away a few swag pieces to
Some good stuff.
Some good stuff to people that ask questions, and then and then the best question, which I think Aaron will probably get to make a decision on, like from APPTUTTi over there, gets a very nice jade. Piece of jade as well.
Yep. This should be something for good health and good luck as well.
So any questions from the audience?
Yep.
Thank you guys for all of the information and your thoughts. When you look at things like streaming and 5G and directions that the industry might go for distribution, do you feel like that's more likely to fragment the market moving forward even further, or that we're going to see consolidation as platforms comes out and then some of them succeed and others fail?
Well, from my perspective, we're going to see a period of fragmentation and then again a period of consolidation, because there are new players that can break into the current distribution landscape because of these new technologies and new approaches to distribution, and they will fragment the market in a sense. I think you can see it as also a good thing, because sometimes the almost monopolies that have come to be need to be pushed a little bit to provide better service. But then in the end, it will be the new world of distribution, right? Who are the new big players in streaming, in 5G, in HTML5, and they will form a new consolidated landscape. I think, for example, the movie streaming business, or services like Netflix are a good example that we can sort of see what has happened in the distribution landscape there, and we'll probably see something similar on the game side. From my personal perspective, is where large content providers, large publishers will try to push their own platforms, and if they achieve critical scale, that they will remove their distribution from the other stores in order to gain competitive advantage.
Do you have anything to add to that answer? Or?
Well, my answer is, I don't know. I cannot predict the future, but I think the fragmented thing is something more likely to happen. There is, because there's lots of players in this industry, and everybody wants to get a share on this. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Well, I think we've had a fragmented ecosystem in China for quite a long time at this point, and even though it has consolidated somewhat, right? It's still a very shattered market in terms of there's no one big winner in that ecosystem. When let's say we don't know yet if outside of China as well, if cloud gaming might result in this kind of fragmented market, if there's going to be one or two big winners. But let's say there is going to be 20 big players 5 to 10 years from now that combinedly own the large part of the market outside of China, just globally. What does that mean as a developer or as a publisher? Taking from China experiences, does that give the publisher potentially more power to negotiate with the store and say hey, I'll give you my game exclusively if you don't, I won't give it to the other platforms? Is that some power that publishers gain from having more distribution platforms?
We've seen some publishers do that in the new PC distribution landscape, right? And we've also seen the player backlash that this leads to. So I think it's, again, a sensitive topic for a developer to decide whether he wants to use this exclusivity. I think if you're a developer that previously didn't have a lot of visibility and your product hasn't gained a lot of visibility so far, it's the right way to go, because you will get some premium resources on a particular store and that will get you kickstarted. But if you already have an audience and you certainly suddenly tell them to move in just one direction, go to a single point of distribution that they might not agree with, or even worse, their device doesn't support, then you will have a very angry player base.
Do you have publishers in China today like that do this, like go to the stores and negotiate? Is that common practice?
Well, I think it's a good thing. So as a publisher and developer, now you have the power to negotiate, thanks to the competition between them. But this proves that the content is the king. So, which means in this industry, the developer has only thing they need to focus on is just to build a fun game. So that would be the easy part, and let the channels, we call that channels, or those distribution channels, they can fight to get your content listed on their channel. So yeah, to your question, I think that's good.
Donald?
Yeah, the market is quite fragile. Yeah, there are so many different stores. Even the top 20, they are having different regulations or guidelines to approve a game or something. It will be tough, yeah. But the point is something like the Tom mentioned about a game like the Fortnite, that they're big enough, then they will be able to say a lot. So they may be able to. So it's all depending on the game itself, the bargaining power. The good thing is, yeah, iOS, Google Play, they're all standard, 30%. But China, if you are big enough, you can have bargaining. The store may be able to adapt to your expectation as well. Yeah, but this might not be all the cases. Not many games like Fortnite or even better. So, but the good thing is, those big stores, they're having lots of traffic. In the very beginning, you might just follow their rules to have the coverage in the Chinese market first, and then if you are getting more popularity, you may have more bargaining power later in the future.
All right.
You've talked a lot about some of the opportunities. Besides the partnerships and everything, as you're looking at the challenges, do you see them being vastly different when you consider developers versus publishers versus brands or companies that are looking to go into additional spaces that are harder to reach, like China, because they'll each have sort of different objectives and goals?
No. Yeah, we are getting like a China market panel, yeah. Example. It's almost like that. Okay, now, one thing, that is a very unbalanced situation right now in China. It's the largest market, actually. But in terms of the supplies of content, that is very limited from local and also from overseas. That's why there is a very dominating situation. The few big games, they are having jeopardized most of the market. And it doesn't tell that the local gamers, they are not expecting the overseas content. They don't have the way to enjoy them. Sometimes they have to going through VPN or something to go to Google Play to try. But the point is, when they play in depth into the game, it's still a very troublesome problem. It's not good experience for them. And so that point, I think it should be a great demand, even from the local users and from the foreign developers. I think, can I address your questions still? Thank you.
So I think the developer, publisher, and the distribution channels should share the same goal, is, well, to serve the players and to provide fun games. And in that point of view, they don't have competition, so they don't have to. They don't have to fight with each other, right? So yeah, but in terms of the revenue share, that's something that's another topic.
When looking at distribution, we've talked about the developers, the publishers, and the platform, like, you know, the stores. Like you mentioned, there's also alternative types of players, right? Yeah, like for HTML5, you have messengers, etc. What are the other like key players that play a really big part from your perspective in the when it comes to the distribution play, from a user acquisition standpoint, or?
Since we only have 3 minutes left.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, right. So I would just mention one part. I think the user community is also very important. So currently, when you distribute a game, that you need to find ways to where users are. Majorly, like in the Kick Talk, that was a very good way to build up your user communities. I think that would be one thing.
Yeah, I think Tom should be saying something about this. You are the traffic suppliers.
I mean, generally speaking, whatever matters to your audience should matter to you as a developer. So all this distribution and user acquisition talk is, of course, very interesting from a commercial perspective. But from a user perspective, he wants to either play a game, stream a game, or see other people play, or maybe talk about it. That could also be an option. And so all these services that are somehow providing, these surrounding services, whether it's YouTube streaming content, or Discord people chatting with each other, or seeing esports competitions. I mean, those things matter for your gaming community. And tying them together in the most close way possible is going to do a lot of good for your general player base.
I don't know if you guys are going to answer this one, but do you have a feeling that more of these, streaming platforms that are, when I look from a video perspective, right, like your Twitches and all these others, do you think they're going to be more active in the future when it comes to like having a direct distribution play as well, or they're going to remain?
They will certainly try. Whether they're going to get there is another matter, I think.
Yep, I think all new tech will be having some new early adopter. The point is whether they will be turning into a habit for playing games. No one knows now. Yeah.
Well, they are actually. So when it comes to esports, the streaming platform definitely be the major player of the esports when it comes to game distribution. So yes, they are doing this.
Okay. Cool. Well, I think that's all the time we have, guys. Thank you so much. I think we have a clear winner.
We have a winner. All right, thanks everyone.
Yeah, thank you.